Moin zusammen und willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe von Exit2Go. Today we have another English episode and we have Robin Bade from eBrands. He's the CEO of eBrands in our show. So let me give you a quick introduction for Robin Bade. He runs eBrands, a company which is also acquiring brands, but we think they have a very unique way. They pay much more attention to sustainability and they really want to develop great brands. And of course, we'll talk a little bit about the aggregator space today, but we want to consider the major part of the podcast to the topic of brand building. But let's give us a warm welcome to Robin. Welcome, Robin, to the show.
Thank you. Pleased to be here.
Robin, great that you're on the show. Maybe Dustin gave a short intro, but maybe can you introduce yourself, some words? How did you come to eBrands? What does eBrands actually do? Maybe just some sentences to the background.
Sure. So my background is in sort of the digital marketing space. Some like 15 years ago, as an entrepreneur, created a digital marketing agency, built a lot of sort of digital marketing strategies and across big global businesses. Ultimately, I sold the company to a UK marketing group called WPP, and after that, sort of sat home, didn't know what to do, played PlayStation with my son, and then I just figured, I've been marketing other people's brands for the last 15 years, and now it's time to market my own brands, and that's how sort of we got going.
Okay, and what is the background of eBrands, or what is the vision, the goal of eBrands? We know it's known as aggregator, but what does it differentiate to other aggregators, maybe?
Yeah, well, I mean, originally I said I think we were triggered by the idea that, hey, let's build our own brands or get going. Like, I'm a growth entrepreneur, so I started a business, spent 15 years to grow it. Now I was sort of hungry, I'm getting older, you need to get quicker into the real action. So I figured that it was a good plan to buy a few businesses, because you could apply these marketing skills that we had quicker and then help effectively these brands to grow. Now, what we never intended, like I didn't even think that other people were thinking of buying these Amazon brands when we initially started. When we got going, there was literally Thrasio as the only player in the market, and one other player, but we thought that, hey, other people haven't found this space yet. And literally the same week that we launched, all of the other players came 2 months later, and they were all out of what was called stealth mode then. And then they had already big businesses. So then I sort of, by accident, stumbled into becoming what's called an aggregator. So it wasn't really an intention at all. I think we had an intention to create like a brand house from the very beginning, and that's why we didn't build a team with lots of bankers and stuff like that. I think we built a team with like execution and branding knowledge, and that's why I guess we look different than other people. But it's by accident, really.
So you probably don't even give yourself the name of an aggregator, so right? So you came into the space and okay, now we are an aggregator. I didn't know that.
We didn't know that term or anything like that exists. So it's really, I mean, the fact is that it was a pure like accident. Now, what we realized was obviously that if you want to build quickly a bigger business where you can use different sort of very specified skill sets, you bring people in that have supply chain knowledge and branding knowledge and stuff like that, you do need a critical scale. And that's why most of these businesses that are 2-3 million of revenue, like they can't just afford a group or organization like that, because it just doesn't work. So you need a critical scale to do that, and that's what, and we then realized that, Amazon is a great platform to buy brands because you can find enough brands with critical scale and then build fairly quickly a big business. But our plan has always been to, operate omni-channel and not only through one single channel called Amazon.
Yeah. So you started in 2020, right?
Yeah. Like I think we launched in like November 2020.
So and this was also kind of the highest peak for multiples where Amazon brands were bought. Have you ever considered, all right, maybe now it's the wrong time? Or
I think actually 21 was like the highest multiples.
yeah, okay, yeah, maybe
So,
it's true. 2020 it started, maybe 21 was the
2020 was still like, very stealth. And then suddenly it took from there 12 months forward. Yes, then it sort of became a peak.
Yeah. Have you ever been like a little bit like scared that you're maybe now overpaying for brands because you have seen like multiples are rising so quickly? Like, was that any decision
Yeah,
making?
I mean, from our point of view, actually, and this may be pure luck again, but we didn't really have money to buy when the multiples were peaking. So we had actually deployed a lot of money in sort of early 2021 or 2020 and 2021. And then when the multiples started peaking in 21, sort of end of year and early 22, we didn't have money. Then we got money in late or mid 22, and then at that point, nobody was buying. So we really haven't, and this is by accident. Like we really haven't seen those peaks because of not having been able to afford brands, to be honest.
I mean, it's the best time to buy brands when nobody else
Wants to buy.
buying brands.
Yeah, but I mean, the reality is that people that have been building great brands, I mean, they're never for, discount. So great products, great brands, patented innovation. It's you have a great business that people
Someone will
buy
always
it
buy.
regard. Yeah, there's always going to be a premium for you.
It's true. But and when was your first acquirement? Like, was it 2020 or was 2021 then the
Yeah.
first?
Well, January 21, in fact.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was a scissors business that we bought back then, like men's grooming category and scissors business. That was our first one, and then actually another one which we bought at the same time, which had electronics involved. And back then, I sort of didn't really understand the whole play, and we realized that we just need to buy a couple to understand how this world works. And we realized quite quickly that we're keeping ourselves away from the electronics brands, and we were happy with the scissor business.
Yeah. So you bought now a lot of brands the last 2 or 3 years. Can you tell us about your approach, or what is your approach when evaluating brand? Because I think you have a look at where is a big potential in building a brand, but are there any KPIs or any factors? What are you looking at when you see an Amazon FBA brand?
So what we're trying to do is really understand the potential of that brand. In many cases, you have a very crafted brand, and it's already very thoroughly designed, planned. There's a brand proposition, a unique selling point, a good product portfolio. So a mature brand like that is obviously a different story. And there we look at, well, can we, as sort of our skill set and our team, can we actually take it to the next level? Meaning we expand it across multiple marketplaces outside Amazon. Are we capable of growing this into a traditional, more retail-driven channel? Is there a space in that channel, and so forth? What geographical markets does this fit into? So what's really the whole total addressable market for a brand like that? And can we take it to, say, from a 2 million to a 20 million brand on a 5-year journey? That's really what we're trying to understand. The more low-hanging fruits are from a marketer's point of view, where somebody has really crafted a great product, maybe sells for $1 million of revenue only in the US or Germany or European marketplace, and then we can apply some of our skill sets to expand the geographical markets within Amazon, and then actually apply more of a branding knowledge and capabilities onto that brand.
Yeah.
Do you have kind of a process to do that? Because when I think about a lot of successful Amazon brands, are most of the time, for me, very hard to market, because often successful products on Amazon are just a little bit better or bit more creative, but in a kind of a big market, because
Yeah.
Amazon sellers never really create complete new products, because it would be not very smart even to launch this kind of a product on Amazon. That's always where Johannes and me also have a discussion when we say, hey, is this a new product? Can we launch it? I mean, yeah, because there's a market for it. And if someone on Amazon is searching for it, it's always a good sign. But when you go off Amazon, sometimes it's really hard to market these products, because people don't really search for them. Like, it's really hard to get them through a Facebook or Instagram ad. Do you know what I mean? Like, how can you really decide if there is potential to build something even off Amazon when you talk about omnichannel?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think price point is a great example. So, for example, Amazon, obviously, there is a certain price point for products and brands where that is an optimal channel. We, for example, have plenty of our brands where they are sold in, design-driven channels and design online retailers, and that retailer doesn't want to see the same product on Amazon,
Okay.
But the same brand can have multiple price points for products, so the same brand can have, more of a value tier product portfolio, and then the same brand has more of a premium product portfolio. Very much like you take the car brands, there's different value tiers in you guys know that from Germany, obviously fairly well, but like that's how we think about it. So you have within a brand, you have various value tiers, and then you have different brands to also represent different types of value tiers. So we may have 3 brands, 2 of them we sell on Amazon, and 1 we sell purely outside of Amazon or direct to consumer, because we think that's just the best way. And then we may connect between these brands, consumers off Amazon channels as well. So you cross sell between them.
Okay.
But obviously for people that have only one brand, that then you can apply the different value tiers in terms of the product portfolio.
Is it actually important for you when you buy a brand and you're thinking about it, okay, can we market this product off Amazon? Is the selling price for you important from the product? Because I always think, okay, marketing something off Amazon is always much more kind of expensive.
Yeah. Well, I think you need to look at the traditional, metrics from. So I've been a sort of venture capitalist and angel investor for quite a few years. I've invested a lot in these sort of technology companies, and they have great metrics. For example, lifetime value of a customer is something that the SaaS businesses look at a lot. And if you have a product which is a consumable product, then for brands like that, the Shopify channel is great. Yes, you pay a lot more for the cost of acquisition as you basically buy the first sale. But if you know that consumer will buy 3 times during the next 12 months, then data will tell you whether the cost of acquisition is actually high or low. And for brands that have a continuous usage and a high lifetime value metrics, then we look at really how many times does a consumer buy from us a certain product during the next 12 months or during the last 12 months. And if it's high enough, then that gives us the understanding of how much can we pay for advertising off Amazon.
Okay,
Yeah.
so the possible customer lifetime value is a crucial KPI then for you, right?
Yeah, 100%. That ultimately will tell us that is it worth overpaying for the initial yeah.
Okay, that's interesting, because for our brand currently it's not that case that a customer repeats purchases, because he only needs a product maybe once a lifetime or
which is really common, in brands that rely heavily on Amazon, because Amazon isn't really a frequently, it's not a platform in most of the brands where it's really great for brands that have a single use purpose, where a person buys a product and they need it only once in their lifetime, and you can actually as a seller make money on that one conversion. But if you try to do that by spending money through Facebook, I mean, good luck.
Yeah.
It's true. It's crazy. I'm actually pretty sure that a lot of brands which are only selling on Amazon probably don't even calculate their customer lifetime value. I mean, to be honest, we don't either. Like,
because it's on the selling price, it's the same.
You have all the data. You have all the data. Like Amazon provides a unique ID per buyer.
True.
So I know exactly what our total portfolio or per brand is in terms of the LTV.
It's true. It's true. Okay, great. So how about that? Let's make a use case. You just bought the brand, which is mostly, like, let's say, like 90% selling on Amazon. What are actually your first steps inside eBrands when you just bought the brand?
Yeah, so obviously we've gone through the whole due diligence of the brand. We've agreed that hey, that the initial what we thought that the business is actually true, and then we made our payments, and then we're off to a kickstart. I mean, how it works with us is really, I can't talk on behalf of others, and obviously I mean it's fairly general how I think a lot of the aggregators operate, but we have a sort of common migration or transition process, which includes the seller being part of the operating the brand still for the next 3 months. After that, the seller has an option to basically jump out. Some sellers nowadays actually wants to stay on for 12 months. But that world didn't exist, in 2021. People just wanted to drop the pen as quickly as possible.
Run. Drop the pen and run.
which it's changed a lot, which I think is for the healthier, because I mean the reality is that how can you really think that that the other person can reach earnouts and stabilize her payments and everything if you just don't transfer any knowledge. So I think there's been a lack of a bit sort of naivety on both sides, which I'm happy to see that now is clearly gone away, or is in process of going away. But like we do that for 3 months, and during that period we try to understand as much as possible of that brand. We're not trying to really change a lot of stuff. I mean, it doesn't make, in our opinion, to start directly changing. We gradually change the models and then apply basically, central warehousing, all of that type of stuff, applying more supply chain related measures and centralizing that. Like that we start doing some of the first things. And then we do talk to the sellers a lot, because I mean most of the cases, part of the growth planning, so we create what we call a brand strategy for every acquisition, and that is then something that is done together with the sellers, where we plan effectively the future product portfolio. We do a brand development project for every brand we buy. That may mean, that we change the visual identity, or we just define better the tone of voice for the brand. We maybe, recreate websites. We maybe create all like new listings. We maybe do, photo shoots. We might create a lot of content on the website. We might partner up with, people from endorsers for brands or brand advocates, and but a lot of that is done during the research of the brand strategy, which digs into a lot of data, really. And then once we've sort of done with that brand strategy, then it goes into the execution of that brand strategy, and that then means usually that the seller takes a less role in it, because they've been part of the strategy, and then they let basically the new operational team run it.
So in the first steps, you don't even think about, okay, where can we launch this product as well? It's more kind of a redefining strategy of the brand itself. As you said, like the design identity maybe is reworked. And do you also?
Well, I think so part of the brand strategy is sort of, we think about the consumer, so like who is the core customer of that brand, what position does that brand want to own, what sales channels does that brand has potential to sell in, what connections do we potentially have for outside Amazon related channels, what markets in terms of geographical footprint does that brand resonate with. We research a lot of trend data, etc. So there's obviously a great amount of research that has been done during the due diligence of the brand, and then we're trying to take that and basically apply it to some real strategy planning.
So it's definitely possible that all these things, like developing new products, redefining the strategy, and expanding to new markets, are happening also at the same time. There's not like a real step by first we do that.
I mean, we have multiple things happen at the same time.
At the same, okay. Because I most of the time, like Amazon sellers and Johannes and me especially, we try to think in leverages. Like, okay, what would be a great next leverage for the brand? For example, does it make sense to expand Pan-EU, or does it just takes too much time? It's a new product, 5 new products, the biggest leverage. And as someone who have now acquired over 20 brands, I think, what do you think? Have you seen something that you could implement very quickly that was a big leverage for a brand, where you can see huge jumps in sales revenue and also in profits?
Yeah. Well, I mean, interestingly, and this goes back to the fact that we think like omni-channel. So while Amazon is by far the largest sales channels for our brands, we still understand and think as sort of, I think about the whole world, and there's something else, some other channels as well outside of Amazon. So you take a business that has performed very well on Amazon. Let's say it's a single SKU product, a single SKU brand. Which
do you buy such a brands like single SKU? Because we have seen like
we bought a couple, and actually some of the first ones, and to be honest, that was what every aggregator said is the holy grail. Everybody wants to buy one single SKU hero SKU business, no other SKUs, as simple as possible,
Okay, interesting.
But and that was like 2001. Is like that was what everybody was saying that they want. Category, number one single SKU brand. And we have some that are great, but the problem with a brand like that is that, if you try to sell outside Amazon in omni-channel, meaning retail, for example, they need a brand which, has enough products that fit on a large shelf. So very few brands, get place in a shelf that only has one product. So So you don't expand a brand like that into an omni-channel strategy very quickly. You actually need to first develop the product assortment, and then you can bring it to that. If for a brand that has maybe 30 SKUs, yes, it's more hard to manage on Amazon, but the reality is that you can quicker also expand that outside of Amazon.
Were there any brands you acquired where you shifted to omnichannel or expanded to omnichannel, which didn't work, where you said, okay, this doesn't work for the brand, and maybe also why?
Yeah, I mean, we tend to learn by doing, and what I mean by that is, like initially, it's no secret that like we just went on and bought a bunch of brands, and then later tried to figure out what do we actually like, how do we actually operate these. So we ended up sitting on 10 brands. They were great brands, but actually only 5 of them had real potential outside of Amazon or outside of e-commerce channels. So what we do is like we really tend to speak to the trade channels and the retail channels and understand what do they need. So the reality is that maybe only 50% of our current portfolio is really fit for that. But now as we buy new brands, we obviously think about these things quite differently.
Do you also, when you think about off Amazon, you start to build an own Shopify store quickly, or is it more I start to think off Amazon, so I try to go to other marketplaces?
No, we do that right away. I just think, I don't know, am I old school or not, but I just feel like if you want to be a brand, you do need some sort of presence online that is out, that exists outside of Amazon as well. Now, some of the brands initially has had, most of the brands we bought, they have had some sort of a website. Maybe a Shopify channel or something. Some have only had, a nice looking website that has referred directly to Amazon.
Classic one.
Yeah. But so what we've done is really we have applied. We do sell. We have basically every brand has an own Shopify or web e-commerce storefront. We use it quite actively. We have our own processes for that. Some of our brands actually sell majority of their sales through Shopify channels, so it's not only Amazon. But then we slowly and quickly try to basically build the best synergies between these 2 channels so that they don't cannibalize each other. Instead, the Shopify channel may have limited edition products that you aren't selling on Amazon and so.
Okay, so just to make it more exclusive to have an Shopify store. When you have that many Shopify stores, what was currently maybe the best external traffic source? I mean, I don't know if you can say that in general, but is there like one traffic source that's working really, really well for you?
Yeah, this is quite resource intense, So if I would be a single individual running a brand myself, I mean, it would be very tough to do that. We have like a team that does this now, but affiliate channels. So that's a great one, but you do need to actually build real relationships with some of those affiliate channels. It's not just publish somewhere and somebody clicking to apply to your affiliate channels, but like affiliate marketing is clearly one. We have been doing a lot of influencer, related collaborations. I think some of the mega influencers or bigger influencers clearly work better for us.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
I think we're not doing that with every single brand. So we're doing that across a certain types of brands where it sort of does make sense. We've started doing a lot of, video shopping related, like TV shop type of approaches. I think that's sort of an interesting upcoming new thing. We have, I think, very successfully been able to do some PR related stuff. There's always somebody writing an article during holiday season about top 10, best like holiday gifts ideas. These types of things are, I think, crucial. And then once you just make sure that you get organic positions in some of these larger medias, your website sort of authority starts going up as well. And then finally, just content creation, I think, is key, which also I think has been underestimated, but it's a long-term game. It does take long-term to do that.
I mean, this sounds like a huge operations team. How big is how many FTs are working on a brand? Is there five FTs?
The 5 people basically runs that whole marketing, content creation, performance marketing outside of Amazon related effort.
For all brands?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, I've done that my whole life, right? So I kind of know what you need to be doing there, and brought on a lot of people I know from before that has been doing that with me.
When you talk the part of content marketing, which is very crucial for you, is there like one specific thing? Like, you try to be very present on social media, have a newsletter, write in the SEO blog? Is there something that's very important for you?
Yeah, I think this is a bit unfair, because I would want to be a lot more specific in order to sort of guide your audience here. But the reality is that it's so brand specific that if you have a sports brand, for example, then actually the athlete influencer relationship may actually be the best way to go.
Yeah,
because they have a big following base. There is an easy thing for them. If they like your product, they'll be genuine about it, and that's the best way of doing it, we find. If you have a product which maybe a intimate care product, then you can't advertise any type of intimate care related stuff of like products or brands on any of the social channels, nor to talk about Amazon. So you have to do content, because guiding content is the only way of succeeding. So it's really like what you need to do is really think about the product and the brand, and from there start defining, well, what are the real marketing channels that I can win with. And we have this sort of concept that we've built, which we call the brand eye, and it sort of touches upon all of these things, and we built this sort of marketing framework that we go through with every brand to assess, well, what's the best channel we think, and what does the consumer basically, how do we win over the consumer from a marketing point of view.
Yeah, and it's very interesting because like nowadays you have so many options to market something from different point of views, and I totally agree. I mean, we always would like to have this blueprint, do this is the next step, but so hard to get it. I mean, if you have a garlic press, I don't think that any influencer will work for you. Like, you have to be very creative about that.
Unless you do it very, very funny, that could be a way of just breaking it. But then you need to go all in on that strategy, and then make it or break it there. So
you have to be creative, definitely. You have to be creative. I understand that it's hard to give like one specific answer, but
I guess the last thing I would say here on this topic is that just like do test things, because I mean you never really know unless you've tried, but then you need to be quite quick at killing things that don't fly. So I think less is more in this regard.
As Johannes has already mentioned, it sounds like you have a big team in the background. You said it's 5 people for the marketing perspective. If you would be a brand and you would be kind of a solopreneur for now, what would be actually the first person you would hire for which position do you think is the most crucial one?
Yeah, I think I feel like many entrepreneurs are quite generalists in a way. They need to understand enough of everything in order to sort of be able to be a solo entrepreneur in the very beginning. But I've learned the hard way during the 15 years as an entrepreneur, and what I would guide people to do is to really understand where your own weaknesses are, because you're really a strong person when you know where your weaknesses are. Strengths are easy to identify, but the weaknesses are less so. So what I would do as a solo entrepreneur is that I would hire the first people where my greatest weakness is, and make sure that somebody comes in and fixes that. And that's really how I started this business as well. I brought in people that knew better some things that I knew I didn't know. So, or things I knew I didn't want to be doing because I'm not really good at it, So to try to basically build positive energy by bringing, focusing on things that you're good at. That's sort of my guidance. But to generalize what that would be in sort of more concrete terms, it's like I think that a lot of good businesses that are e-commerce businesses, I think you do need to think about the whole brand building piece on a longer term. Like if you have a very utility product on Amazon, I mean, you can stand out quite well if you do just think about this from a more marketing point of view. But and then so maybe bring consultants as well. That could be a nice way. But don't bring companies. Bring individual consultants. Usually a better option.
Yeah. I mean,
what can you just like explain why you think individuals are much better?
Well, I mean, as a coming from an agency, it's very often the individuals make the agencies. So you really want to make sure that you work with the best individual rather than the best agency. I don't think there's anything like the best agency. There's the best individuals, and you just need to make sure that the people that you sort of connect with are the individuals, and you find great freelancers, and particularly if you're a small brand, bring those people in. It's easier. You become an important customer for that. If you're a big brand, then maybe it works well for you to bring in an agency. But if you're a small business, I'd recommend people to bring in individuals.
It's crazy. I 100% agree. Like that's, for example, also the point where we, for now, never really worked with Amazon the photography agencies, because like you're one part, but if you're working like with a freelancer and you're a big customer for them, they really think about your product one step further, and that's something I definitely agree on.
Yeah. So I think, but these things you learn the hard way,
yeah, probably.
I have one question mark regarding the Amazon brand, or in my head always comes build a good Amazon brand, but actually what defines when is it a good Amazon brand? What defines a good Amazon brand? Are these only pictures? Is it only a nice video? When is it a good? Is there any like any approach, or when do you say this is a nice Amazon brand? Is there any? What are you looking at? Is it the text, or I don't know?
It's a very good question. I think it's in many ways a subjective matter, but like I tend to look at things like how many attribution clicks does that brand have? Like how many people find that brand outside of Amazon and they come to Amazon and buy it, I think it's a very important aspect, because then there's a genuine interest for the brand that sits outside of the marketplace. So I think that maybe defines more of a great brand than a great Amazon brand. But nevertheless, I mean, I think that's an important factor. Yes, the sort of hygiene things like, a great listing, making sure that you have the right keywords and that you address the most searched keywords, and your advertising campaigns are optimized and your taxes are at acceptable levels, not too much, not too little. I think ultimately what we look at is this brand eating market share from others? Because there's a lot of brands out there that just grow in sort of
With the market.
with
the
the
market.
market.
Yeah.
But can you grow quicker than the market
Yeah.
is the real question. And unfortunately, it's like very difficult to get hands on that data. But that data is something which I think is very important to sort of try to understand and try to assess, like, are you growing quicker than your main competitors, for example?
Yeah, that's a good point. We already started this year with that data set, because on Amazon you have now the search query performance,
Yeah.
where you see the sales of your competitors, and then you can see if this is your market, how do you perform in comparison to this market,
Yeah.
and can you evaluate, did you grow with the market, or did you lose, or did you win?
Yeah.
But that's actually a good point. Yeah, very.
The other thing which I think is unlooked at is Amazon defines the buying customer persona quite well. Is it a female? Is it a male? What age group? What demographic? All that type of stuff, which I think is quite interesting. Obviously, I understand that some of the Amazon Prime accounts may skew that, because the families tend to use the same account and so forth. But nevertheless, it is valuable information, because so many marketers and brands go wrong where they think certain people are buying their brands and their products, while it's actually totally opposite. And what people say is usually not what they do. So that's stuff you learn in sort of marketing 101.
Okay.
Yeah,
Understood.
but I mean, that's something we definitely also.
The other thing I'd maybe give a shout to, why I think we spoke about the fact that people have like websites, and why do you need a website for some of these brands? I mean, you can actually have a good dialogue with your consumers on your own websites, creating polls about new products, that type of stuff, which I think a lot of brands aren't doing, and if I would be a solo entrepreneur, I mean, I would really want to hear out my customers. What decisions I do with that data is a different thing, but like really having quick polls and stuff like that, or like, what are the next products I bring to market, I think that channel is underutilized.
Oh, that's a nice hint. Definitely, we actually thought about creating a newsletter list, but then somehow we decided not really to focus on that. Maybe we should have a new discussion on that. But is that something you do? You try to collect emails quickly?
Yeah, but you shouldn't expect that the emails convert to huge amounts of sale. But what you can expect is that there's going to be loyal people that give you great insight, So I think a lot of people look at these email lists as like, yeah, they're great value. You're going to get this much sale during Christmas, and send one email to people. I mean, I don't think that's the reality. But if you are able to use that email list or that brand advocacy list to other purposes for your brand, I think that makes a lot of value. And I think there, both us, but I'm sure everybody else has a lot to do still.
Yeah. So creating or collecting emails and newsletters more to build a community, to create content instead of only thinking in revenue.
Yeah. But like, it's the communities don't look like they looked 20 years ago, where you had like a chat board or a discussion forum. Like, I think that's not what the consumer expects anymore. The consumer feedback is very individual, and then you just need to collect the data and make your assessment. So that's how, at least I think, it works.
It's really true, because honestly, when we have been talking about our email list, and we started to think about if we want to have one or not, we were really thinking about how much value can we get out of it in terms of revenue. Like, maybe, okay, when we make a product launch, but even just like presenting new product ideas. I mean, I think people love to get heard, and you have the chance to be part of a product and just give us your idea. I think much more customer will reply on that than just like you can have a 10% off the coupon or discount for just for a new product. And really, we just had a discussion where, because we were thinking about launching a product which is twice the market price, so it's really, really expensive, and we have like no data. We have no idea, will this product be a hit or maybe not. But if we would have now an email list with, let's say, 500 people, and just like even ask people about what they think about such a product, I mean, I definitely
what price point they would be willing to pay for it, like
also good. Yeah.
And so you would be surprised how engaged people get when you ask questions of them, and particularly questions where they are not expected to buy something,
Yeah.
But don't blend, an offer and a question. That's not a good idea. Just like be clear about why you sent the email, and there shouldn't be a catch.
Yeah.
And then they'll respect you. And I think that's how great brands are built as well. Like be honest, transparent is key.
Okay, cool. So maybe one last question, because it's also very hot right now. For example, in our company, I mean, you buy businesses, and so you probably already have a lot of listings with a lot of reviews. Is the topic reviews or building reviews still an important point for you, or is it something you can make a check mark just probably because a lot of listings already have a lot of reviews?
No. I mean, well, particularly we develop a lot of new products as well as part of the brands we buy. So definitely the reviews are of great sort of importance. And well, when you think about sort of off Amazon related activities, I mean, all of the Amazon reviews don't translate directly to something like Walmart or separate, like similar. So like you really need to have different review strategies for different marketplaces as well as your own Shopify channels. So I do think they play an essential role. I think we do a fairly good job there, but definitely something we still need to work on. I think it's key. If you want to get into B2B sales channels and retail, I mean, the amount of reviews you have and the review quality, it does play a major role.
Okay, but there's like nothing specific for the moment you do there, or is there like inlays or customized emails?
No, we do some inlays. Definitely, we have a lot of we have a lot of ebooks and these types of things as well that we sort of we bring in. Obviously, we keep ourselves to the Amazon T's and C's to make sure that we don't violate any sort of terms there. But I mean, I think as a branding person, I'm a believer in, if you create a great product, you're going to get good reviews. Yeah. Don't create a mediocre product and then ask for great reviews. I think that will sort of hit you in the face.
Yeah, long term, definitely.
Yeah. What we tend to do is really to just explain what our brand and our product is, be very transparent about it. For us, for example, this sort of sustainability angle or effort is a very important part of what we do. We talk as inserts of our brands, we talk about the production and supply chain of these individual products and brands. So we just tend to try to give people information, and if we give information, they usually give us sort of feedback and information back.
Okay, cool. Okay. Makes sense.
Yeah, so I think we have a good bucket of market or brand building. Maybe just a short topic about the environment above the aggregator environment or acquiring brands environment. What's your outlook in the next years? Where do you think will acquiring eBrands go? What do you think? Or will your approach also change in the next years?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very interesting question, because I mean, I think we stumbled across this aggregator space. I think that the term aggregator is maybe like particularly Amazon aggregator is probably something that will fade away in the next 5 years. And the reality is probably that more of these brand houses will become focused on certain categories, and then maybe people sell their brands to these focused category businesses. So that's most likely where it sort of will fade towards, because we clearly see, we focus on 3 different categories. We wouldn't really buy brands that sit out of these categories. We collaborate totally with some other aggregators and tell them that, hey, there's this great brand you guys should look at because it doesn't fit our world. So I think the collaboration in that regards has sort of taken new levels. Because initially it was all about, hey, we're all on the same territory, we're fighting against the same brands, but I think we're quite far from that. So if you reflect, how has things changed the last 2 years, they changed a lot. So I expect that it's going to change even more the next 2 following years.
Yeah.
And that's why I sort of doubt that this Amazon world is the only sort of Amazon aggregators will probably go away. And you'll end up having these sort of e-commerce, aggregators that accept that there is multiple marketplaces, multiple sales channels that these brands sell through.
You mentioned that you're also business angel or VC. Do you think that there will be less capital raised for these aggregators, or do you think investors will invest in other branches, or do you have any insights on that? What's the
Well, I mean,
yeah,
it's interesting because if you look at the amount of money that has come into the aggregator space, I mean, and you compare that against, for example, the B2B SaaS industry. The B2B SaaS industry is 2 times smaller than the Amazon marketplace business is. So I think there's still a lot of money that can channel into this space. The other good thing about it is that, in difficult market environments, you'll end up in a situation where investors tend to focus their investments to businesses that generate, money and ideally profits. So I think we're, as an industry, we're in a space where as long as the consumer still buys products and there's revenue flow, I think we're in a pretty good place. So for sellers, there's a healthy market to sell to. For buyers, I think the cost of capital, I mean, basically something that the term didn't exist, 2 years ago, because people people tended to forget, that there is something called cost of capital. Now we're in a new world where there is a cost of capital. So if I raise money or I take debt from a bank, I really pay a real interest rate on them. So that does have an impact on the terms towards the sellers as well. And I think that's something that the industry needs to learn, at least to deal with the next year or so.
I mean, it's interesting that you compare it with B2B SaaS, because it's a completely different business model. B2B SaaS, you're like burning money, and e-commerce brands are profitable, and you can also back it with debt in most cases. So
but of course, I mean, it's the investment industry, or the investment has sort of risk capital has been very difficult to get a hands on right now, and I mean, everybody, obviously, because of cost of capital, suddenly everybody, it costs money to raise money, so it's a very different environment, which I think everybody needs to accept.
Yeah,
true.
Okay.
All right, I would say that's a wrap. Great points about brand building. Really hard to summarize even. I think we've seen that most of the time, often a very unique approach. There's a lot of testing involved, but that's something every seller have to figure out. And yes, Robin, if anyone is thinking about to sell their brand, do you also acquire German brands? Is there any?
we
Okay.
have 2 German brands that we've just acquired or in process of. So let's see.
Perfect. So what's the best way to reach you guys?
Well, you'll find me, Robin, at eBrands.com, and eBrands.com is our website.
Perfect. So we will link it up if anyone is thinking about selling. You know where. I think there's probably a great approach when it comes to brand building when you have exited your business, and maybe there's a nice earn out involved for you. So give it a try. Robin, thank you so much for your time, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.